Hello, this is the voice of Matt Redman again, and this is part 2 of the series about the 10-bass Gibson Style U harp guitar and my approach to playing it in the style of the day. If you haven't watched the first episode, which features the main black instrument from 1913 and a bit of history and an introduction, I do encourage you to do so. I had feedback that there isn't enough footage of me just sitting down and playing it, so we'll start with just that. And why not a different 10-bass Style U from 1919 with a song from that year, which you heard me play a little bit of on the 12-bass Style U clip I used for comparison of resonance example in episode 1.
So I'll talk a bit about how I approach playing with the plectrum and playing the harp guitar in a 1900s, 1910s, 1920s style, akin to folks who would have done that at the time and not had later music to draw upon and be influenced by and let those affectations and styles creep into their playing.
And sure, you might question why I'd want to do that. And it would be akin to studying or picking up orally and taking on board the features of period or stylized performance, whether it be medieval, Renaissance or Baroque music, swing, rock and roll, country, or even contemporary pop performance or music production from the 2020s. This is in addition to the rarity of wanting to do that on a Gibson Style U harp guitar. Have a listen to this conversation of my first visit to George Gruhn's guitars about wanting to play his Style U.
Well, I've been dealing guitars over 50 years.
I'm the first one.
And I've never had anybody come in. I've had people come in who say that, oh, there's one guy in town here who played harp guitar, and he said those were sympathetic strings.
Well, that's...
So all he ever played was on the 6-string neck.
Don't get me started on those guys. Don't get me started on those guys. Well, that's...
Never had the occasion to hear someone actually play.
But
I've had 6-string, 10-string, and 12-string Gibson harps. And they've all gone either to museums or collectors who just wanted them to rent.
But I'm a living museum.
I think of the harp guitar like, or the guitar, or any instrument really that I play, much more like the piano, like all of the notes are laid out and you can see them all at once. And that's why I basically always, when playing popular songs such as with Patricia, I'm always reading piano music because I'm trained in music theory and music harmony, and a lot of that I've developed myself.
So to demonstrate how I do this, I'm going to use a lilting waltz from 1909 called Meet Me Tonight in Dreamland, which is the year of the instrument's patent, as you saw in the previous video.
I interpret the piano music onto the guitar fingerboard and the harp guitar strings, usually by picking out little inner melodies in the left hand of the piano, as well as the general bass movement where the harmony is going, and any instrumental additions I can pick out to make. Now this is easier on a 6-string guitar because you're not jumping as wide. And on the harp guitar, particularly on this 10 bass, it is difficult because I'm playing with a plectrum. So I wouldn't interpret playing every piece of music exactly the same way. You know, it's good to hit a chord, hit a bass note, I should say, and then play some on the neck. But it doesn't always have to be like that. You can split and jump quicker, I find, just about. Like when you're playing with your fingers, you might be playing dead together. Of course, that's still quite hard with that amount of jump, I personally find. But if I was to like interpret the same phrase with the plectrum, you can either displace the melody, play it in a more rubato or relaxed, less strictly in time style. There are other ways. You can obviously miss some bass notes out. Obviously on this particular tuning, it's easier to play the bass notes that are close to the neck. And I might play the bass note slightly early. So not on beat 1, not on do, D, D. Might play it on just before, like this. 1, 2, 3.
This is comparable to when two or more notes spaced further apart than a pianist's maximum handspan are split in the left hand, with the lowest played early. However, it's also, of course, a common interpretation of Romantic and later music, even if otherwise possible. Here's one of the most famous examples of that in a piece from the same decade.
And then I might displace the melody, which is what I did on the second bar there.
This means playing the melody notes either earlier or later than they were written, which is common in jazz with the addition of extra notes, but this is in a style appropriate to the era of the music. I also sometimes displace the bass note into a gap created by a long note in the melody on the high strings, giving me time to travel down to strike the bass string rather than hitting it simultaneously on the beat, as you can hear in this next example. Many more ideas on melodic interpretation at the same time as playing an accompaniment to come in a future video. Thanks for watching for now. Do subscribe to be notified of the next episode.